It's one of the coolest places on the National Register of Historic Places. I'm Jackie Ferris. This week on the 302, we are at Rockwood, checking out all of the programs for kids and their families. You're going to want to get out your calendars. The 302 is headed your way. Hey everybody, we are at Rockwood checking out all the things that kids and their families can come and do and see. I'm joined now by Sam Griffin. He's kind of the guy that makes the magic happen. Sam, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be here.
So part of Rockwood's mission is to, have things for kids to do and to learn about history, right?
Yes. So we are currently moving into an exhibition where we're focusing on the photography of one of the inhabitants of the house. His name was Edward V. So as you can see behind us, we have a lot of his photographs put up as a timeline in one of our hallways. And as part of the childhood education program, we are building up a scavenger hunt for kids to do around the estate, focusing on some of the historical photographs we have. So we've identified 9 places that kids can go and take photos and kind of learn about the history of the space. We've also developed a historic photograph recreation activity where families can come in and find a bunch of the photos that we have around the house and where they are on the grounds, and kind of like have a fun activity recreating some of the family photos that the inhabitants took while they lived in the house.
That sounds like it's a really fascinating activity that kids are really going to love. So when we talk about some of these photos, these are the photos that you're talking about, Edward V. So tell us a little bit about him.
So he was one of the last residents of the house. Him and his 3 sisters came with their parents in the mid-1890s, and he lived here till his death in 1938. He was an avid photographer for his time. He took a few thousand photographs. Wow. He was extensive, and one of his favorite things to do was move around the grounds and take pictures of some of the guests in this place. So we have a lot of photos of people on places like the South Lawn and in the walled garden, where at the time they were either used to grow food or for entertaining. So as you can see around here, you'll see a lot of photos of not only the family, but also Edward's dogs and a lot of his friends that came and stayed with him and took photos and did a lot of activities in the grounds.
So when we talk about the dogs, there's not just 1 or 2 pictures of the dogs. You have an extensive collection of animals, right?
It is one of our largest groups of objects. It's just photos of Edward's dogs. He had a few of his favorites that he went and did dog shows all over the East Coast, but he also had some hunting dogs and some dogs that he had and bred for pleasure as pets. And you can see him all over the place with some of his Great Danes, some of his terriers, some of his foxhounds. He even had a very large portrait of himself with 2 of his favorite dogs painted, and then we hung it in the main hall.
There are so many gorgeous, paintings of the family. The one that I love is of Bessie dressed as the Queen of Lorraine.
Yes, each of the kids, the Bringhurst kids, had their portraiture taken after photographs that they very enjoyed. Edward chose his dogs, Bessie chose her Queen of Lorraine dress, and Mary chose her nice dark furs. And they're one of our largest paintings, and they're all based off photographs.
And they're all so fashionable. I know that you guys you're one of the luckiest institutions that you have a lot of the original items, like the hats with all the plumes and everything, and the dresses and things like that. So much to draw from.
Yeah, we have had a few fashion exhibitions in the past, which shows off a lot of this. We've also been really lucky with some of the inheritors of the Bringhurst and Shipley estates have been very willing to give donations and gifts to us. And that's how we've preserved a lot of the collection and been able to keep track of almost the day-to-day lives of some of these kids, with just the stories and stuff that their like nieces and nephews inherited.
Yeah, and it's important to have programs like the scavenger hunt and the photograph program, because it shows kids that, you know, these guys, they were kids that lived here just like them.
Yeah, really inheriting the tradition that whenever you go to a museum, you have to get the family photo shoot. It's something that the parents will always require.
Absolutely. So if someone wants to bring their child to the scavenger hunt or, you know, to the photograph program, what do they need to do?
So the scavenger hunt is currently free. If you want to see the exhibition connected to it, you just get a ticket to the museum. I believe it is $5 for Newcastle County residents, and that will be opening April 6th. The scavenger hunt will be running all of spring, and so will the photo recreation activity. And both of them are just simple as picking up a sheet of paper with all the locations and photos on them, as well as some fun historical facts, gotta be a museum, and just walking around the grounds on any day that it's clear enough to take a photo.
So this must be a lot of fun to put these kinds of things together.
Yeah, I really enjoy working with kids and trying to create new and fun programs. I know history is a little stuffy of a topic, and it's hard to find it fun reading in the classroom. So I really take a lot of pride in trying to build up like more of these like engaging and unique activities that we have here.
Well, there are so many more activities that we haven't told you about yet that you're going to want to learn about, and we'll have all of that when we return.
Hi, this is Bill Petroni from Extreme Zone in Newcastle, Delaware, and I love racing with the 302.
Welcome back. We have moved into the scullery with Sam Griffin to talk a little bit more about the kids' programs. But Sam, before we do that, tell me a little bit about, you know, what the scullery is all about.
Yeah, so the scullery is really meant to be kind of like where everything is cleaned in the house. Right behind us, we have the sink where a lot of the dishes would have been washed and a lot of the laundry would have been done. There's actually a laundry machine behind you as well as a furnace to help dry. This is really a space meant for servants to get like everything, bring in everything dirty and get everything clean and just kind of keep the house running.
Now, we talked a little bit about the pictures and everything in our last segment, and you look on the walls and there are more pictures of people that worked here.
Yeah, so a lot of these photos were done under Edward's name. We're not 100% sure if he took them or not, but it's a lot of the servants who lived here while he lived and worked here while he was here as well.
And there are a couple of the dogs as well.
Oh yes, mandatory.
Yeah, and next door you have the kitchen that you guys, you know, interchange with every season, right?
Yeah, right now it's really moving from the Christmas holiday season into our spring season. It's still got gingerbread cookies out there, but if you move further into the house, spaces like the dining room and main hall are really set for spring.
And when you go in, the tablescape is so elaborate and beautiful. But I think it gives kids, because that's the focal point of our show, but it gives kids kind of like an insight into how dinner was served back in the day.
Yeah, the Bringhurst Edward in particular really loved to entertain guests. So the kitchen was always a place of like hustle and bustle and just everything being everywhere. So we really try to like kind of preserve that feeling of like half-baked cookies are out, there's cake about to be served, dinners like just coming out of the oven, stuff like that.
So let's talk a little bit about what happens here modern day. This is where the kids will do some of the art projects that you guys have programmed. Tell us about that.
Yep, so 3 weekends a month, we have 3 different art classes for both kids and adults. During the spring, we have Dutch tile painting, which is reflecting a turn of the 20th century tradition of using Delft tiles, which is a tile painted with white and blue, depicting primarily like nautical and agrarian scenes, and there we have a few different fireplaces lined with Delft tiles. Our second class is paper flowers. We just got our paper ephemera display down, so we have a lot of paper lying around, so we figured a paper craft would be pretty fun. And our third is seasonal. We are doing watercolors. Normally they can either take place out here, but as soon as it's reliably warm and not raining, we plan on moving that class outside so that kids and adults can paint things like the conservatory or some of our walled garden.
So there's so much to unpack there, so much to do. So first of all, the tiles. You know, when the kids are doing the tiles, and you have an example of one of the tiles here, what do you tell them? You know, where were the tiles made, that kind of thing? What's the lesson that you share with them about that?
So for us, we like to keep it basic. We know that history can be a little stuffy. Our focus is kind of teaching the kids the origin of the tiles. They're Dutch in origin. It comes out of this like low country love of pastoralism and, you know, like boats and stuff. All those fun history things. And we let kids recreate some of the examples we have here or what they want to do, and we use Sharpies and oil paints to kind of recreate that feel of like glazed stone.
Yeah, so and also keeping the mess to a minimum.
The mess, yes.
Absolutely. So you mentioned the ephemera. Now you're gonna have to like tell me what exactly that is, and was this something that was done back in the day, the paper flower craft?
Yeah, so the Victorian era, which is 1832 to 1903, they love paper because paper was just starting. This is where you get like your Sears magazine, like your Sears catalog is coming out in this era. So there's a lot of paper lying around, and a lot of people decided to like make crafts and reuse a lot of this paper. And that's what we call ephemera, is repurposed paper to do things like that. So you could order like entire like play villages that you put together, and they're simply just made out of paper. And we're kind of recreating that by allowing kids to make decorations and ornaments out of some like reused paper, as well as some tissue paper and colored paper.
That sounds like fun. It really does. Maybe I'll have to come and check it out. Can you be a kid at heart and do it?
We have adult programs doing the same as well.
So let's talk a little bit about finally the watercolor. I mean, is it a lesson in history and, you know, maybe how to use the medium? Because I don't know, some kids may not be familiar with watercolor.
Yeah, so watercolor was a medium that was used pretty popularly during the Impressionist era, which is in America, like 1900 to just before the Second World War, and you get Monet was an Impressionist. Like this, you get both like this still life, but also this very like loose, like vivid use of watercolor in landscapes, and particularly in painting plants. So we have a lot of plants, and we have a managed garden. So we really thought that kind of bringing this lesson in and letting kids use watercolor, kind of feeling like how almost imprecise and fun the medium can be, would be a very good lesson.
Fantastic. And there's so much more to talk about for kids and families here at Rockwood, and we're going to talk about it when we return.
Good afternoon, folks. My name is Tim Gasparovic. I'm the fleet captain for this vessel, for the Paradise Tiki Cruise, and we really enjoy having you folks out from the 302 and have a great time with you.
Welcome back. We have moved upstairs at Rockwood to talk a little bit more about child education programs, things families can do whenever they come here to this beautiful space. And I'm joined by Sam Griffin, who is in charge of putting all that together. But before we jump into the school programs, this is Edward's childhood bedroom, right? So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Edward was very young when they moved into the house. I believe he was 8 years old. Don't 100% quote me on that. Moving takes a while, I'm sure you all know. But originally we interpreted it as an anteroom for some of the upstairs bedrooms. But our curator, about 3 months ago, found a book that ended up being his older sister's scrapbook of the first 8 years of his life. And so we learned through that room behind you was actually his childhood bedroom. So we moved a bed up here, we set up his writing desk and got some of his toys and some of his decorations that probably were in his room and put it in there, just to kind of like change up the space and make sure that really like show how this house changed a lot through its century of being a house.
And when you look around, you see that there's a camera there that you're not sure if that's his camera, but it was a camera from the time.
Yeah, so one of the fun things about having 4 kids and constant house guests is that we don't 100% know like what belongs to who, particularly because they didn't tell us. So we actually found one photographs and 2 cameras of Edward taking photos, and we're pretty sure that he had a very solid chance of using that camera.
Absolutely, and there's also a puzzle, so when kids come and they see this room and they see that, oh, this is what it was like a kid's bedroom back in the day. He played puzzles, I played puzzles, so it's really kind of cool.
Yeah, and we've put like some of the books he could have read and some of the other like small trinkets and toys he could have had, just as like personal possessions in his room.
It really does give you an insight into what it was like to be a child, but it wasn't the way it is now. It's not as intimate now to grow up, right?
A few more screens, but besides that, kids will always be kids.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the school programs that you guys do.
Yeah, so we are currently developing programs that we hope to implement starting next school year. We have history programs focused around some of the time periods that we can really like shine a light on, being a house that has been inhabited from the 1850s to the 1960s. Those focus around segregation, prohibition, early Delaware history, antebellum history around the house, so that would be 1840 to 1861, and just a few other like small things like Joseph Shipley, the man who built the house, was a merchant, so we have a tour on historical economics that kids can take, and they're all set to the Delaware Department of Education's standards. The other program we have is art focused. We're tentatively calling it Rent an Object, where school groups can come in, and we have selected 4 different objects that we have interpreted and set up lesson plans for, and we provide the materials and the seating and the interpretation, and art teachers can come in and help their kids recreate some of the objects that we have. 2 of them are the portraits behind us of Mary and Edward. The third piece is a piece of Bohemian glass that we have on the main floor of the main hall. And the 4th piece is actually a Delft tile, a Dutch tile fireplace that's in our 1913 expansion. Normally we call it the green parlor. And they're all open to public access, so if you just want to come in and see them, we promise we don't lock them away.
So what if somebody has like a special, area of interest? I know that you have a wide number of like laces and macrames and textiles. I mean, do you do things like that?
So my background's not in textiles, but thankfully we do have people here who are very good at textiles. We have had a few summer camps come through and really get into like object handling, which is something that we would love to teach, but it's kind of hard for like large groups. But if like we've had private groups reach out and want object classes in object handling and interpretation and these very niche interests that we can really show off, and we always love to accommodate groups like that.
And you have so many objects of differing kinds and differing time periods that you change the things, routinely that you show and exhibit, right?
Yeah, we have a lot of textiles. We have a lot of ceramics, so that's like dinnerware, like these massive culinary sets, these tea sets, and we love changing those out. We also have a lot of glass. So we have a lot of lamps. We have a lot of lamps that have been altered between using wicks, gas, whale oil, and electricity, and we love to display those. If you come around the house, even like a month apart, you'll see that we've switched out some lamps, some glass, some lusters, all these like fun little things to show off our collection.
And the things that you show off also extend to the gardens. You have beautiful gardens.
Yeah, so like we have the wider park, that's about 76 acres, and then we have what's called a ha-ha wall, which is like a sunken wall that it doesn't interrupt the landscape, but it keeps our curated space that's like managed and kept as a historic object away from the wider park, and you can really see how it changes, because a lot of our trees are much older than some of the newer growth in the area. The house was originally built with around 150 trees personally selected and planted as the house was being built.
Yeah, it really is a beautiful property and a beautiful home. Sam, thank you so much for sharing all of the educational opportunities. And if you want to know more, we go to the website, right?
Yes, there's a link to the website on our Facebook page, and there's also the Newcastle County website where you can reach out to us and see what we're offering.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all of this with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
We'll be right back. Isn't this place amazing? Every time I visit, I see something new. Now here's something new for you to check out. For more information on all of the awesome things that Rockwood has to offer, you can visit newcastlede.gov. That'll do it for this week's episode of The 302. Make sure you follow us on Facebook for some behind-the-scenes content you're just not going to get anywhere else. We're going to leave you now with some beautiful area shots of Rockwood Park. Until next time, I'm Jackie Ferris. Tell them you saw it on The 302.